welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness. Well, welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show as we broadcast to you from our new home at Skyline Home Loans in the Sunkist building right here off of Magic Mountain Parkway and the Old Road. So with me today is Steve Korn of New Hall Escrow, checking out the new digs.
Glad to be here. You know, I was parking in the parking lot before the show today, and all I heard was a bunch of screaming. There's the people on Tatsu at Magic Mountain. I mean, they screamed the minute that thing took off from the train station all the way around the ride. Man, there's just nothing but screams.
Well, that's one of the fringe benefits now. If I'm having a rough day, I could just run to Magic Mountain real quick, ride X2, get all that energy out, and then come right back.
They give you like a neighbor pass or something. You just pop in and pop out.
I bet, you know, with the kids, I've got an annual pass. I can pop in, pop out anyway. Yeah. The difficult thing will be to resist the temptation for funnel cake.
Oh man, that's no good. But we always walk it off.
Yeah, when you're there. But if I just walk over to the parking lot and bring it back to the office, that's bad.
I think half those rides should be titled Ragdoll, because that's what I feel like when I'm getting on them. You just flail around like you're out of control, man.
I like it. I like it. Well, you know who feels like the Ragdolls these days is renters.
Yeah, man. That's for sure.
They're getting beat
up. Yeah,
especially Santa Clarita, because Santa Clarita is not a rent control city. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk a little bit about what rent control, the pros and cons of rent control, but being that it's not a rent control city here, that gives the landlord a lot of opportunity.
I don't know that any one person's really taken the opportunity to gouge somebody. I haven't heard that in my walks of the community and being involved with the business as I am, knowing investors. I haven't heard anybody really scream out there for fairness, because right now I think we're at the same price point where the rent versus purchase is probably real close to each other right now.
Right. So here's the argument, right? Is I'm not saying that it gives the landlord the opportunity to gouge someone. Mm-hmm. The reason that this area is still what it does is it creates a natural market where supply and demand and buyers and sellers negotiate a price that's fair.
Well, and to our community's credit, without the benefit of a rent control, we're still being fair on across the board. Give me some numbers of what's going on. So September of 2016, the median rents were right at $2,600. And then peaked in April of 2017 at $2,800. Peaked again in June of 17, right below $2,800, and now today we're right at $2,700. So, you know, year over a year, we're fluctuating inside and outside of $100. You know, above our peak and below our average. So, anyway, and to give you an idea of what the inventory is looking like, we had in September of 2016, we had probably what you would consider an average amount of rental inventory. A lot of it had been picked up from the housing decline, the short sale, foreclosure, cycle. Those properties got picked up quickly, and then our number of rentals on the market peaked in May of this year. Highest they've been in 2 years, and they peaked again in July, and now the inventory's been picked up again. We've got another 40 properties off the market as of this past August.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that as a landlord, it's really, really hard to rent any property October through January. People are distracted, people are busy, and because it's been so many years of that 1 year cycle where people fall off, there's just not a lot of renters on the market between October and January. So that's one of the reasons you don't have a lot of inventory, is because the same reasons people buy houses in spring and summer is renters move in spring and summer as well, historically.
Sure. Well, if you're a realtor listening to this program right now and you haven't had this said to you in the last 90 days, really look at the renters that are renting the Santa Clarita Valley proper. There's a lot of people that just want to rent, period. That's their deal. That's what they want to do. Their life circumstances are going to take them out of the area. They don't want to commit to a long-term mortgage, whatever the reason being. But I think there's so many opportunities right now to get a renter, transition into a purchase money home, and a homeowner, that we should really be targeting those renters, and if not targeting them for purchase now, targeting them for grooming to be a homeowner in the next year.
Well, and the thing too about renters
turn
today
it
is,
over, right?
Demographics, right? Demographically speaking, we're a very young city. We don't have 2 or 3 generations of families living in our city. We just usually don't. We have 2, right? But there's not a lot of 3rd generation families living here. And what that does is that means that our new home buyers, our current renters, are probably a fairly young group of people, and they're still fairly ambitious about buying homes in this area. Like you mentioned, some people have life circumstances. The kind of employment that we have here is typically like a long-term employment, a little better, a little more stability, more family-based employment versus, you know, I own some properties in North Hollywood, so I'm very acute to who my tenant is over there, and it's very different than who a renter is here. Over there, you're talking about studio workers, people in animation, people that are just going to be in a job for a very short amount of time or on their way to something bigger. Where here I feel like people kind of build a slower moving career.
Sure. Well, to support your feedback, let me give you an idea of our local demographics. 21% of our residents are single residents.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, that tells me right there that there's an undersupply of housing for those. Because what are they going to do with a $600,000, 3,000 square foot home?
And 82% of our residents are homeowners. Go figure that.
That's a good number.
Median age? Take a guess.
38.
37.
Oh,
Close. How
that was
about
good.
that? And the median household income is $89,444.
So that's what it costs to live in Santa Clarita, right?
That's right.
It's approximately $90,000
Yeah.
a year. So that actually reminds me, so we were talking a little bit about inflation. So it reminds me, when I was a kid, I remember my dad saying once, I don't know, for whatever reason we were having a conversation, he says, if I only need like somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 a month for us to live okay. And today with $4,000 or $5,000 a month, you can't do anything. It's not enough.
Right.
And that's how we've ended up with the dual working households as well. That's the problem in Los Angeles area and Los Angeles Metro has been that not a lot of single income families are able to survive.
Yeah, that's for sure. Interesting statistic. 39% of our community is college educated.
That's a big number too. I highly doubt that the numbers are like that in Metro LA. And that's something Dawn and I can look into, but that's a very well educated group of people.
And we have a program at College of the Canyons that's going to improve that. I'll share in the 4th segment to talk about what we're doing locally to increase that.
I just received an advertisement in regards to that, and we won't let the cat out of the bag, but we'll talk a little bit about that because I think it's super exciting. I think it's a great place for our kids to find some direction and get a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Our local community college is more like a university, and if you've not tapped into the College of the Canyons, definitely go to canyons.edu and check into what's going on there. It's pretty cool.
All right. Well, Steve, let's. We've got a couple more things we want to cover. Let's jump into something real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but refinances.
Right.
Okay, you and I are acutely connected to refinances. People call me for a refinance. You see how much of your business is a percentage of refinance. Would you say that refinance is very busy, not busy, slowing down? How do you feel refinances right now?
Man, it's in between all that. It's cyclic, you know. It's I think looking to you and what you're and how you're generating those files. I would say that we're seeing an increase in activity.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, definitely. From the first 2 quarters of the year were completely anemic when it comes to refinances.
Doors shut. Nothing going on.
There was nothing.
Right.
I mean, we're talking 20%.
Right.
There was absolutely nothing going on. And what's interesting is in the back half of the year, we got a little dip in rates. We've been able to educate the market on how much more equity they have. So you have a lot of people, let me tell you why people are refinancing, to get out of mortgage insurance. Probably the number one or number 2 phone call we get today is to get out of mortgage insurance.
FHA territory here, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and FHA mortgage insurance, it's great to get into a home, but if you can get out, let's get out.
Sure.
And the other big one, cash out, cash out, cash out. Cash out to pay off debt, cash out to send my kids to college, cash out to buy a new car. We're tapping into the equity, and we can touch a little bit on this because you're going to be tempted to get a HELOC. And let's talk about some of the pros and cons of the HELOCs. They're good, but they're not always great for everybody, so you need to know what you're getting yourself into.
I'm surprised you didn't mention home improvements in that statistic.
That's where the HELOCs come in.
Yeah, we get it. That's where we're going.
Yeah, so when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about home equity lines of credit and see if they're right for you on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show.